this is an Ali production. Solo style. So you're all probably wondering why I brought you here. Sorry, there's a drag race going on outside. So yeah. So unfunny content ahead. Now the actual question. What thought-provoking questions may we ask of literature to provide profound responses and revelations about society, humanity, and the world in general? Okay, so this is in simple terms, a loaded question, right? What questions can I ask of literature or of, in this case, even media, to come up with the best new ideas about humanity and our place in the universe? This is, the broad-ranging topic. What's the single question? What is the ultimate question? So, you can pause if you want to read any of these, because this is just a very, a very, type of, like, literary response, like a very scholarly description. Yeah, sorry, you can't go home yet. Intro. So, I did a survey of the local high schoolers, and this is what they thought. So, in order for a better insight into the thoughts of the general populace, I did what, Family Feud do. I did a survey. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. What things can influence an author's writing? Why do authors write? 3 questions, and you can read this. Okay, so what things can influence an author's writing? The majority response, I'm going to read these next few word for word because it's important, take notes. I'm saying this like this is going to be shown in a classroom. I hope to God it will be, but not my classroom, that's for sure. The majority response was that both physical and emotional factors such as pain, poverty, happiness, sadness, anxiety, stress, fatigue, etc. can impact an author's writing in some way. This is only logical, so holds no real large impact, but I felt that it should, of course, be mentioned. So this is the actual survey results. So 0% of students cited emotions as the things that can influence authors' writing. Physical events was 6%, or 1 person. 17 out of the 18 people surveyed said that both physical and emotional events impact an author's writing. Authors, of course, write to share info or opinions, obviously not to entertain, as the majority place. The main purpose of writing is the purpose of media is to inform or share opinions. To entertain is a secondary yet equally valid purpose in my opinion, but not so in the way that the people responded, and most likely in the way that I structured the question. So from Blade Runner, right? So, questioning human nature. So I gave 3 excerpts, right? 1 from Blade Runner, 1 from To Kill a Mockingbird, and 1 from The One and Only Ivan. It is apparent in human nature to be social, to form dysfunctional societies, be evil and ignorant, and this of course explains a lot. This explains, of course, how we live in a society. Thank you, John. So, what is it being? Give me a second here. What does it mean being human, in fact? It means, in extremely shortened terms, the results concluded that there are no biological requirements for having humanity. This shows that humans can lose humanity by losing emotion. Objects or animals can gain humanity by gaining emotions. Being emotional constitutes humanity was the 89% response, first place. Emotional, as in having emotions. In conclusion, humans are, according to the, in my opinion, informed public, seeing as this was a honors class being surveyed. In my humble opinion, humans are, according to the public, always impacted and changed heavily by the world around them. Humans write to share ideas they feel to be important. Humans are social and form dysfunctional societies, as well as being evil and ignorant, as well as humanity is a free-flowing concept that one can lose or gain, i.e., RoboCop, who else? RoboCop. Just think RoboCop. All right, books. I read hella literature for this. I read Blade Runner. This one's the other title for this one was Blade Runner. I read The Martian, King Solomon's Mines, Contact, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All right. Yep, meme summaries. So this one's of course The Martian. This one actually has to be explained. In King Solomon's Mines, dude goes out into forest, hunts for the mine, ends up fighting in a war. Alan Quatermain goes and fights in a war that he takes, like, no part in or whatever, who cares, honestly. This book was written a really long time ago. So the interesting thing about King Solomon's Mines is that in the modern day it would be seen as an imperialist and very, very racist book. But back in the day it was like, because the language and because honestly people don't want to understand the context of things. But much like the Quran, Bible, Torah, King Solomon's Mines is too a work of its time. I had to turn the music down for this one because this one actually is like very important. So King Solomon's Mines is a work of its time, right? It has lots of themes that people today would consider racist, and sexist, which of course they are. And in the future, even my words today, if I'm famous enough, will be cut up and analyzed to show what my deeper and more nuanced feelings are. But King Solomon's Mines, for example, it has the white savior trope, which in those times wasn't even. I don't think back in the 70s or 80s, maybe even 90s was written in. The white savior trope wasn't a trope. It was just how books were written. Well, I think. Well, from the perspective of Europeans, wouldn't Europeans be the heroes? As well as this, it was actually quite progressive for its time. Much like those 3 religious books I mentioned. It was very progressive considering that when Alan Quatermain, Sir Henry, and Captain Good arrive in Africa, they are the ones being led around and in a comparable society to what the Europeans had left. In some cases, even a more, a equal society. Well, of course, this was still shown as like a tribal savages, which from the way that I read the book, the tribe really appeared that way. But, it's a book from the 1890s. What can you expect? What should you expect? But still, it does present an equal message that all people are equal, which Rider Haggard was, not really. Rider Haggard was one of the first people to posit this in writing, that whites and blacks were equal. Now, this one can be explained, of course, one word. This one needs a lot of context. Arthur, the main character, loses everything in a day. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Blade Runner I didn't pause to talk about because everybody knows about Blade Runner. Like, come on, Blade Runner is Blade Runner. So, I gathered from this in order, mind you. 1. Humans are complex, resilient, violent, primitive, and insanely smart, and, most of all, adaptable. Never mind. Let me go back. So, this message is also pretty important. This means that our ultimate question is going to take this into account. We cannot ask if literature presents humans as... Yeah. So, all of this, what I'm basically doing right now is narrowing down the questions that one may ask in order to prove that I am right. Right? Now, articles. I did, in fact, read scholarly works. So, I read a couple articles, and the 5 articles were too boring and vast. So, Art of Questioning basically posits that humans... this is all going to be in the bibliography, by the way, but... The Art of Questioning posits that humans change their ideas with the times. Deep Learning for classical Japanese literature says the ways in which humans communicate and share ideas have changed throughout time. Well, the article presents that Japanese people have changed their language and the way of writing over time. Well, the message gleaned isn't exactly, the exact interpretation I'm sure that the writers were going after. I think it's still a valid one. Humans do, in fact, change the ways, because you can take that from changing of language. You can extrapolate from that we not only change language, but the ways we communicate. Like, for example, Mr. Moneybags over here sends letters, while Millennial Man over here, after shaving and getting a haircut, goes and uses his Windows phone. Alright, so humans can use literature to deal with threats, like other humans, in the case of this article over here, Medieval Iceland, Greenland, and the New Human Condition. So, in that one, they dug up an old law book from Iceland, I think. Or it was a Viking law book, saying that, like, I think they dealt with something about climate, which basically, it was humans using a form of literature to deal with a threat, even if that threat was each other. Now, literary criticisms. This one wasn't really, normal. It wasn't one out of the 5 articles. This one was really abstract. Basically, this one posits that human morals are very mysterious. Now, this one is very simple, reflecting on the presence of science fiction robots in computing literature. Humans are stupid and corruptible. Robots are the end state of perfect robots, are the end state of a society which chooses to, make them. A society which makes a superior being will then be overthrown by that being, whether it be one or many. In this case, was Skynet they, or was Skynet one? I don't know. I'm sounding kind of stupid here. If any experts are watching, please correct me. What are the takeaways here? Ideas change, communication methods change, humans use literature to deal with issues, morality is a very large part of literature, and humans are corrupt and imperfect. In order to find the ultimate question, we have to take this into account and further narrow down the list of available questions. So, the finale. If I was being held against my will and being forced to give an answer, I would say, what is the protagonist's brother's wife's favorite rock band? I'm just kidding. I would say that the answer to what the ultimate question would be, what is the color of the protagonist's curtains? But Fro, who is the tallest character in the book, and what is their favorite sports team? Okay, the real ultimate question is, what is the meaning or purpose of this text? So, this question applies to all forms of media and can serve to show the true meaning behind any text. For example, why did Mr. Weir write The Martian? Weir wrote his famous book to showcase human ingenuity and willpower, as well as the cooperativeness with the human race in times of strife and hardship. This question does not take care of the spawning of extra questions from itself, which many of you might have picked up on if you are, smart. Like your boy Ali over here, smartest human on earth. It is actually because of this that I chose this question. I couldn't find a question that would provide one single answer, so the next best step was to go with the question that spawned the most thinking instead. Whoop. So, this is the questions that can be spawned from that question. Basically, the situation here can be summed up in this comic over here. So I'm not gonna explain this. So, in ultimate conclusion, humans are always I'm gonna read this word for word as well. It's highlighted so you pay attention. So, humans are always impacted and I'm gonna pull the Khan Academy. Okay, I'm gonna pull the Khan Academy dude voice. Sal Khan, come on. Alright. In ultimate conclusion, humans are always impacted and changed heavily by the world around them. Humans' right to share ideas they feel to be important. Humans are social, and we form dysfunctional societies. We're evil and we're ignorant. As well as this, humanity is a free-flowing concept that one can lose or gain. Humans are complex, resilient, violent, primitive, insanely smart, and adaptable. Ideas change, communication methods change, turned into, what's his name? The Mike's Harder Lemonade guy. Ideas change, communication methods change. Humans can use literature to deal with issues, and morality is a very large part of literature, possibly the largest. On top of all this, humans are corrupt and imperfect. Scene. Aight. Because of all these factors, all questions except what is the meaning of this text lose their viability. Any more general and you'd be philosophizing about human nature, and any less general than this, you wouldn't really find any sort of real revelations about society and our place in it. For all those reasons, and many, many more that I'm unable to fit in here, I guarantee that what is the meaning or purpose of this text is by far the best question to ask of any text ever written.